argues that by having these 24-hour news media, we will not be able to impart accurate information, and which in the end will not let people have a real and thorough understanding of the problems which are permeating the world. In this debate, we have found two major points of contention. The first is the need to know what is going on, and the second, the idea that urgency and accuracy cannot coexist. Now, the proposition argued that we have an urgency to know exactly what is going on, to know information. Let's examine their logic. They argued that competition drives people to produce accurate information. This is a false cause fallacy. They are saying that competition leads to accurate information, and they provide absolutely no evidence to show this correlation. Second, they argue that people have rationale, and that they will be able to distinguish between false and true information. Building on what my first speaker said, how would the common person know when information is false? Like my second speaker said, they rely on the media to get their information. And if we are talking about nuclear weapons or something which the audience does not know about, how are they supposed to distinguish whether the information is right or wrong? That is fallacious. Now, they argued that it is important for people to know up-to-date information. They think that in an increasingly globalized world, we need to know what is going on. But they did not explain why. Why does the common person need to know? We set the debate at a global scale. So why would a person in the United States need to know what is going on in China? No, thank you. How will that help anything? Why do they need to know? They failed to explain why. But even if we did need to know what was going on, wouldn't we want to know what is actually going on? The truth? Wouldn't we want to ensure that this is coming from credible sources? Because, elaborating on what my second speaker said, if we are learning information from sources that are not credible, this can lead to stereotypes and misconceptions. And this is seen in the Michael Brown incident. When news media started posting a ton of information about what was going on, and immediately people thought that the police officer was the one at fault. But then, later on, when posts started to be published by the Wall Street Journal and other non-24-hour media sources, people started to see that there was another side to the story, that the white police officer thought that Michael Brown was posing danger. So all these misconceptions, all this hatred towards the white officer was caused just because a media that was so desperate to get the information out provided information that was potentially inaccurate. Even worse, no thank you. Let me further elaborate on what my person said. It is an invasion of privacy. Some people do not concede with having what they say be publicized. For instance, when journalists start taking pictures just to add it into their source, some people do not concede. And why? And how do I prove it? It's manifested in the number of lawsuits against 24-hour news agencies. And as my second speaker said, people have the right to have privacy. People have the right to choose whether what they say or what they do is posted online. Now, moving on to the second course.
Madam.
Yes.
The real fact of why your side is able to provide accurate news information is because things like, for example, police report things like press statements. If so far as that's the case, that means that on our side, even our inaccurate news media is also able to report such press statements.
Okay, yes. So they're not always able to publish accurate information. So we are saying that they should not publish it in the first place. They should not publish it in the first place because it's not credible, and not credible sources can have very detrimental consequences, as I will explain later in my discourse. Now, they claim that better discourse. That discourse will help people solve problems. How will having discourse help people solve problems? How will having a debate help solve problems? It won't. It's just a discourse. So it's great that it costs discourse. It doesn't help anything. Now, moving on to my second theme, that urgency and accurate cannot coexist. So they are basically saying that in a very urgent situation, accuracy is not really necessary because it takes too long and it's just not necessary. People just need to deliver the information. But first, we are doing this at a global scale. Why would someone from another country need to know this very urgent information? And even worse, if accuracy and urgency cannot coexist, then that is extremely dangerous. For instance, in a plane crash, think logically. If you have a relative that is in a plane that is reported that crash, you would want to know exactly what is going on. If because of media wanted to get information out really quickly, then they could give inaccurate information about what really is going on. They could tell the people that their relatives are alive and then crash it and say that they're dead, or they could just simply say that they're dead, both of which have extremely psychological consequences for the people. So is it right, for the sake of giving quick information, is it right for people to suffer like that? Is it right for people to have not credible information, to form opinions around that? No, it is not right. And for that, I am proud to oppose.